on, my friends? For today's episode, we're taking a look at some watches that I consider are fantastic GADA watches, or GADA. Now, everybody's definition of a GADA watch is going to change based on their preferences and their styles. For me, I keep it simple. So other than the fact that it is a watch that can handle anything, for me specifically, if we're just talking about physical attributes, it's got to have a clean bezel, so no rotating bezel, a simple dial, and then a steel bracelet. And that is my super simplified definition of a GADA watch. Of course, there's going to be some specifications that it has to meet, but realistically, as a 24/7 desk diver, none of those specifications are ever going to be tested in my life. So I try to focus purely on the aesthetic, physical properties of the watch. I also want to make it clear that this video is not a comparison video. I'm not claiming any of these are going to be the best. In fact, some of those episodes are my biggest pet peeves, like these top 3 watches of whatever. I hate doing that. So consider today just a simple show and tell of some watches that I like, and I want to introduce them to you. So I'm sure you've already seen it in the title, but here we've got the Sinn 556, the Seiko SPB155 or Baby Alpinist, and then the Tudor Ranger. Let's go ahead and move this out of the way. Before we get into it, today we're rocking from Seiko the King Turtle. It's such a cool watch. I think every brand has their JV and varsity lineup of team players, and I think the King Turtle is without question in their varsity lineup. So I can't wait to review this one in the future. But it's not the star of the show. Let's get back into it. And even though this episode isn't a review, I always want to cover price in every one of my episodes just because that's something that I always take very seriously. So we'll go from lowest to highest in price, starting off with the Seiko Baby Alpinist. You can find this for around $500 to $800. And then the Sinn is going to be anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000. And then the Tudor Ranger you can find, between $300 to $3,300. The strap version of the Tudor Ranger is going to be cheaper, but who wants the strap version? Ain't nobody care about a strap. Bracelet is the only way to go. Change my mind, you're not going to be able to. And then let's go over those dimensions real quick, just so you can see what we're working with here. A lot of these numbers are going to be very similar, plus or minus a millimeter here and there. All these watches are beautifully sized. I think with the Baby Alpinist being the smallest at 37 millimeters, and then the Tudor Ranger at 38. But I have always felt, and I will stick to this until my dying breath, that the Goldilocks zone for watch size is 37 to 39. And so Sinn, Seiko, and Tudor knocked it out of the park when we're talking about the dimensions here. And for me personally, a watch cannot be a GADA watch if it is over 39 millimeters. Again, that's not set in stone. That's not a law. That is just my requirement. So again, at any point in time in this episode, a lot of you are probably going to disagree with me. That's perfectly fine. Share your thoughts in the comment section and let's discuss. I always like to hear what everyone else's preferences are. Now let's take a look at each of these watches one by one, starting off with the 556. I absolutely love this watch, and this is sort of the catalyst, or this is what sparked my obsession and interest into GADA watches. One thing that really caught my attention was that steel bezel area with no bezel. It's so clean, it's simple, it's classy, it's neutral. It will fit in anywhere. So it'll fit on the tennis court, on the soccer field, at a business meeting, or at an opera hall. I really like how the bracelet makes it look more of like a tool watch, but then the sunburst style gives it a more elegant feel. And so you've got a lot of different elements here harmonizing perfectly. And everything about this watch feels typically German in all the good kinds of ways. So like when you think about German engineering, German cars, it's all tight, precise, professional. That's exactly how a Sinn feels. And you just can't deny that this is a handsome watch. The brushed finishing, I'm a fan of brushed finishing, and they do that exceptionally well here. And then the case back, or the display case back or exhibition case back, is a beautiful surprise because you've got this beautifully finished rotor that is not really gold. It's kind of bronze in color, I guess. but it looks so good. And it's sort of like a pleasant secret that nobody's gonna know about except you. And I really like that. And then moving on to the Baby Alpinist. So I didn't think I was gonna like this watch as much as I do. I think Seiko sort of went in a negative direction when they released this watch. It is the, I guess, cousin or brother to the actual Alpinist. But the reason why I like the other Alpinist is because it has that beautiful sunburst green dial. And in this case, they sort of went with not a sunburst green dial. It's more of like a graphite dial, something like that. More like gritty sandpaper style. But I gotta tell you, it works. And with the indices, they went with painted indices instead of applied like on the other one. Like on the older version, they've got those beautiful gold or like chrome plated indices, and it looks fantastic. And here it's just sort of flat, lacking any kind of depth. And again, it just kind of works, Maybe I don't know, a blind Seiko fanboy, which I am. But, trying to take away my blind passion for Seiko and trying to have an unbiased view, that plain look with the plain dial really works. It doesn't look so elegant that it can't handle like a rough sports game, but then that polished bezel and case gives it that elegant touch that'll make it look great in a more formal setting. And despite it looking a little bit daintier than your typical Prospex, you still have that Prospex screwed crown and then screwed case back. So everything about it is still a watch that is on par with your typical Prospex watch. One thing you're gonna notice is the thickness is the largest on this one. I think it's at like almost 13 millimeters, but you're not gonna notice it. The way that the case is designed and how it's sort of rounded on the edge allows that 13 millimeters to sort of disappear on your wrist, and it kind of melts into your wrist. You don't see it as a thick watch, but as a more beautiful, elegant style. So it is a 13 millimeter watch that looks more like a 12 millimeter watch. And if you're not familiar with watches, some of you are going to be like, this guy's crazy. He's like talking about a difference between 1 millimeter. But I'm telling you, when it comes to case thickness, 1 millimeter does make a difference. And just like with the Sinn 556, on the underside, you have a very beautifully finished rotor, which is just another pleasant surprise. And yeah, this watch is just outstanding. I think green has been the color of 2022, and I'm perfectly okay with that. There's not enough green dial watches here, and so the fact that you're getting that here in a perfect everyday watch case is a winning combination. And now talking about the Tudor Ranger, I am going to be probably very biased in my opinion on this watch. This is a very special watch to me. And not for any other reason other than it was super expensive. Well, at least I thought it was super expensive, and it's a Tudor. So two things that are very near and dear to my heart: my bank account and the Tudor watch brand. A lot of people are going to continuously compare the Ranger to the Rolex Explorer, and for good reason. However, I will argue that the Ranger makes a better GADA watch than the Explorer itself, because, and I might piss off a lot of Rolex owners out there, but in order to be a GADA watch, you actually have to go and do anything with that watch. And from my experience, all of the Rolex owners that I know personally don't go and do anything with their watch. Usually they're safe queens, usually they baby them, usually they're commenting, oh my goodness, I got a scratch on my watch, is this repairable? And so in my opinion, that just doesn't make it a go and do anything watch. Even though it can definitely withstand anything, it actually has to be worn comfortably in those environments. And I think most people are too afraid to put their very expensive Rolex through, those rigors and, rough and tough environments. And just to be clear, I'm not saying this applies to all Rolex owners. This only applies to the Rolex owners that I know. Whereas in Tudor's case, I think it is priced perfectly well to where it's expensive enough for you to get good quality, but it's not so expensive that you are so afraid to do anything with it, you know? And it's not like finished, you know, in any kind of exceptional way, right? It's the very basic level of finishing to where I'm not afraid ever to just put this on and do anything with it. With the brushed finishing, sapphire crystal, screw down crown, very plain case back, everything about this watch just screams adventure and activity. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like one of those people that puts this on and fantasizes about climbing Mount Everest or anything, but it's very nice having a watch like this that is nice enough to have some street cred in the community, but isn't so nice to where I'm afraid to ever put it on. This is without a doubt a very tough watch, but when you pair that with the 39mm case diameter, 12mm thickness, it's still elegantly wearing and looks very sharp in a suit and tie as much as it does in cargo pants and a ripped up t-shirt. You're definitely going to hear a lot of criticism about it, especially from people that don't own the watch. I can just tell you from my personal experience, having owned this for a couple of months, and from the experiences of other acquaintances that I know that have owned this watch for several months, this watch has done nothing but give us joy. And I would even say that to date, out of every single watch that I've ever purchased, which is a lot, way too much to be responsible, I would say so far this one has been the best purchase I've made. But I need to stop right there because I said this wasn't going to be a comparison episode. I'm not trying to say that it's the best. I'm just saying for me personally, I've enjoyed this one the most. And let's bring this back here. And so anyways, those are my thoughts. These are my GADA watches. I don't think these are the best, but I will say that they have my stamp of approval. They are fantastic. They look beautiful, and I think they're priced reasonably. You know, I think the Seiko you could totally get, you know, after a couple months of saving. And then, you know, the Tudor, yeah, that's going to take a little bit longer, but it's definitely within the realm of possibility. And then the Sinn is right there in the middle. And all in all, I think all of these watches are watches for enthusiasts. Like if you like watches, then I feel like I can say with complete confidence that these watches are going to put a smile on your face and you're going to enjoy them. And that's all I got to say for now. I hope you enjoyed this little episode. Again, whatever your thoughts are, feel free to share them in the comment section and we can discuss more. I'll also have links to all of my different social media sites like Facebook and Instagram. Feel free to join those and subscribe and like and all that good stuff. But other than that, I always appreciate you guys sticking around for this long. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Bye.